Well, hey there, gang. After a long day of working in the shop, like many of you, I like to sit back and watch some Woodford instruments. If it's at all possible, try not to become a luthier. It's an obsession, a disease, some might say. Do yourself a favor and try to stay away. I know it's not going to work, but still, it's good to be able to tell yourself you tried. If you find it as easy as I do to turn a perfectly functional process into something more and more complex, then you just might be a luthier too. It's carefully covered by many others, including myself. The methods are conglomerated and condensed, and yes, I still think there's something to say about it. The methods I use are quite simple, and the results, I would like to think, speak for themselves. I hope to provide some insight and give you something to think about as you develop this skill. While milling a solid body is nice, and it can be very rewarding, I've always wanted to be able to manipulate this material in this way. It hasn't come easy, and I'll continue learning. For now, this method provides the results I'm looking for and satisfies my desire for accuracy and consistency. I will undoubtedly find a way to overcomplicate this in the future. Subscribe to watch me make those changes and eventually return to a very similar method again. I like to make the work as easy as possible, and while I enjoy mixing in technology, it's not always the perfect solution. There's more feel in this dynamic situation than sensors and switches can envelop. If your method uses these devices, I'm not going to try to dissuade you from using them. I only hope to provide a bit of insight into why things might go wrong. Every piece of timber is varied, and every species will react uniquely. In broad terms, this method will work most of the time, but there's always an exception, and a solution to that exception. The process must be able to adapt fluidly. Bending by hand with an iron works great and provides the skills you will need to make this technique work well. In my quest for better and more consistent results, I've complicated the matter and convinced myself that it's easier. In theory, I'm in control. In practice, not so much. The tools I use are relatively simple. Just a silicone heating blanket rated for 120 volts and wired to a standard plug without a heat controller. I made the bending jig in this video. Check it out if you haven't seen it. The method is quick and easy. Spray the stock with a bit of water, not too much, and wrap it in foil. Put it in the jig and apply heat. When it's ready to bend, proceed slowly, and then cycle the heat to make sure you've driven off most, if not all, of the moisture. When the bend is set and it's cooled down, remove the foil and clamp it into the mold until it's completely dry. I've made it just a bit easier on myself by splitting the difference with these sharp contours. I cut the side dimension in half and sanded out the stock so I could bend the laminations together. Then I glued them up in the mold. I do the same with the linings. It's much less work than making my own kerf linings and provides extra strength and a broader surface for joining the top. Sure, you could buy kerfing, But by now you should have realized that I will spend twice as much and work 4 times as hard to make something instead of buying it. And that, in a nutshell, is the curse of almost every luthier. Once the glue is cured, they can be removed from the mold and they will hold their shape quite well. With a bit of trimming work, they can be glued to the center block and trimmed to the proper dimensions. Fit and glue the linings and sand out the extra, and Robert's your mom's brother. It's just that easy, as long as we don't get into the details too much. Until next time, thanks for watching.